Hello, hello. Welcome back to another edition of That Mill podcast. Hope everyone's doing well. Today we have a post-match sort of roundup with Kai from Millwall Fan TV. How you doing, mate?
Very good, thank you. Very good, thank you.
Just the two of us today. We're kind of soldiering on and we're making sure we get the content out there for everyone. But obviously we've got it on YouTube at the moment, as you might be watching on here. But also we've got it on the podcast format. So if you're watching on either or, be sure to check out both sides and obviously get involved. Mate, 2-0 win into the fourth and fifth round draw of the FA Cup. Obviously a bit of an anomaly there, so to speak. Good performance today, wasn't it?
Excellent performance. I thought, we've got to make sure we keep our feet on the ground. And, so it's a National League side, no disrespect to Boreham Wood. But I thought the players that came in today, Danny McNamara, Tyler Bury, I thought they both had really good games. And I'm really excited to see what Danny McNamara is going to be like in the league now, because I think he's going to provide fierce competition for Marlon Romeo.
Absolutely. I think we'll get on to McNamara shortly because I agree with you. It was actually it was surprising, to be honest with you, because obviously we'll talk about him now actually. Because obviously, he went into the game with a lot of hype around him, not really sure whether or not he will, take to the kind of, the challenge really. But I think, considering I know it was against non-league opposition and we have to be wary of that. But, a team that's been in form recently in Boreham Wood, I thought he rose to the occasion well, didn't he? And he looked to compete with the game. And I think he had the left back in his pocket, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, I think their left winger, Sorba Thomas, I think his name is. He's been looked at by many Championship and League One clubs. Apparently, that's the rumours. So Charlton nearly signed him at the end of the transfer window in the summer, and I thought he dealt with him really, really well. Actually, that Sorba Thomas is really quick, and when he took him on, he looked just as quick, if not quicker than him. So he looked really, really good player for us today.
Yeah, speaking to Matthew Messiano, who was like a Free Counties radio presenter for Boreham Wood, he said, watch out for the two wing-backs. So obviously they play three at the back, similar to us, and the two wing-backs bomb on. And I think it's Thomas and Kane Smith on the other side, I think his name was. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think they were the main threat for them going into the game, and we seemed to nullify that quite well. I think they only had 4 opportunities the whole game, really, for Boreham Wood. I think, the game started off pretty relatively tame at first. I think the only talking point really was Cooper getting a booking in the first minute. I mean, we'll get on to why it was kind of a main talking point shortly, but I think for that to be a yellow card early doors, I didn't think it was a yellow card straight away, to be honest with you, Guy.
I think it's a really harsh one. It's just the big punt upfield. They looked like they were going to cause us problems. That read up top, looked like it was going to cause us a few problems. At first, we didn't like we're going to be able to deal with him, but we obviously did in the end. But yeah, there was a lot of people saying Cooper should have been sent off for that second. The guy just ran into his shoulder. I think the first yellow card was probably a bit harsh in the opening sort of seconds. So yeah, I thought it was quite lucky that Cooper didn't get sent off, because he'd have been a big miss for Bournemouth.
I think it was Neil that told me beforehand, like, this referee likes to give cards down. I think the commentator said at the start of the game, and literally you're right, from the first kick of the game, it goes forwards and he's about 25 yards out. It gives a free kick away. And it's like, he just got beat to the ball. I personally didn't think that was a yellow card either. I could see why Boreham Wood was so angry towards the end of the game. I think Luke Garrard was on the pitch. You can see him getting picked up on BT cameras. And he's obviously talking to the referee saying, I'm going to email the FA about this. If that was me, Cooper would be sent off, blah, blah, blah. I could see why they're hard done by, but I think if it's a balancing act, I don't think it was a balancing act, but if you could argue personally that the first one shouldn't have been a yellow card, and probably should have still been on the pitch regardless. But I definitely would have thought the second challenge in the start of the second half would have been a yellow card as well. But fortunately for us, we've got the rub of the green, which we don't always get. Now, obviously, with the lineup, we spoke about a lot. I mean, you came on last night and helped us out with obviously our Friday night live show, which was obviously great for you to have on, mate, and appreciate it. But we kind of spoke about what kind of lineup we go for, and we went with a back five. Now, that was a weird talking point at the start. I mean, I think, clearly Wright wanted to go with a physical side, considering Matt Reed will be up front, that we spoke about. And obviously, they play 5 at the back themselves. So we went with Fielding and goal. I think the back 3 was Cooper, Pearce and Hutchinson. Obviously, Pearce in the middle between the two normal centre-halves. Left wing back was Scott Malone, who was my man of the match, but we'll get onto that in a bit. Right wing back, obviously, Matt McNamara, who we already spoke about. And then in the middle of the park, we had Woods and Leonard. Up top was Tyler Bury, making his first start for the club in the FA Cup. And also Sahor and Troy Parrott. Now, what did you make of the 5 at the back at first when the team news came out, Kai? I think, even myself, and I'm in a couple of group chats, a lot of people saying, why have we gone 5 at the back against the non-league side? But I think it probably paid off in the end. But what was your initial thoughts at 2 o'clock?
I was quite surprised, actually. I thought we'd go with the 4 at the back. I thought we'd take the game to them. But obviously, I'd never really watched Boreham Wood before. So when they got on the pitch, I could totally understand why Rout's gone with the 5 at the back. Still questionable. We should still be defending them with 4 at the back. That's my personal opinion. We're a Championship side, so we should still be comfortable with 4. But I can see, they've got a few big lads up there, Reed, and they've also got a couple of big lads coming up from the back. So, and I think, having a back 5 with that extra man, Pierce, in the middle, it helped nullify them from corners and set pieces.
I realised I said, what was your thoughts at 2 o'clock? Because obviously it was a 12 o'clock kickoff. So just to fact check myself there, what did you think at 11? But obviously we spoke about that. And yeah, I agree with you. I think, during the show on Friday night, we all kind of, concluded we wanted 4 at the back. I think it was only Tony that went for a back 5 when he came on later in the show. And I think, it paid off in the end, so we can't begrudge it. But that was that kind of feeling at 11 o'clock, like, oh, why can't we just go for it, play 2 up top and 2 wingers and kind of give them a good game? But it paid off in the end. I think, we spoke about obviously the defenders and the height. I wanted to mention Scott Malone because I think he was my man of the match. The first goal in particular, a nice little build up between him and Troy Parrott on the left guy. He then is through on goal, and for all my money, I thought he was going to put his right foot through it and try and have a shot. Instead, he picks out Ken Tahor on his first start, who tucks it away nicely.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. I think we were all surprised in our house personally. We were, he passes it to Zahor, and me and my dad have gone, why has he done that? Why is he? He looked like he was clean through on goal. Set Zahor up, and I was really impressed with Zahor's finish actually, because it looks like a relatively easy finish, but when the ball's coming at you like that, he hasn't exactly set it up for him he has set it up for him on a plate, but he hasn't. The pass, if you look back at it, it's come at him with a bit of speed. So for him just to take it first time and tuck it away was a really nice finish, and it's one of them ones that Zahor didn't do that much in the game, but what you want from your striker is they get a chance and they take it.
What did you make of Zahor overall? I think he showed glimpses of what he's about, really. I think at one point he took a touch, he come deep a few times and offered a kind of option, so to speak. But at the same time, there was a moment where in the first half, I remember he got on the right-hand side, turned his man, ran towards to the byline. I think he actually got to the touchline and actually took it out of play by accident. But I think, we saw glimpses from him today that, what he could offer us if he's fit for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. I think him and Parrott linked up really well in the first half. There was quite a few nice little interchanges between the two. And I think he's going to be one that if we can keep him, I think he's going to be a really big player for us as long as he can stay injury free. Obviously whether we can get him or not will be a different story on another loan. But yeah, I thought we saw glimpses of him today, and he's not even fully fit yet. And he got 60 minutes out of him, which I was quite impressed. Actually, I thought he'd only play a half, if that, after his 20-minute cameo against Coventry. So for him to play a full hour was quite impressive, and it'll be interesting to see whether he starts him again on Tuesday night against Bournemouth.
I agree. I think Bodvarsson didn't start and came on in the second half for Zahor, but I think for all Bodvarsson tries, I just think Zahor, he doesn't need to try, and he looks just a bit better, if that makes sense. I'm not suggesting that Zahor doesn't run around and put an effort in, but I think you watch him today and he's just got that oozing a bit more class than Bodvarsson, I reckon. So if you was Rowett, would you extend the loan deal, or would you be looking elsewhere? What's your kind of gut feeling at the moment at this time?
I think definitely want to keep him. Definitely want to keep him, but you got to, you haven't got that crystal ball of whether he's going to stay fit for the rest of the season. If you've got if that crystal ball says he's fit for the rest of the season, it's a no-brainer. I think it'll be interesting to see whether he can, if he stays fit with the next 2 games. If he plays Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest and stays fit, does well, scores goals, then it's a no-brainer for me. I think him and Parrott look really good together, and Parrott, I think, is all he needs is 1 goal, and he'll set him alight as well. So I'm hoping them two can push us forward this year.
You bring me neatly on to Parrott. Now, obviously, he played nearly the full game in the end, didn't he? I think he got taken off towards the end, or did he get the 90? I can't quite remember, but he didn't come off at the 60-minute mark. It was Bury and Zahor that made way for Bodvarsson and Bradshaw. I weren't sure about Parrott. You can see he gets on the ball a lot. He's got bright glimpses. I feel like he'll be disappointed not to score today. Maybe he's still coming up to speed. One moment sticks in the memory, second half, where he steps up to the free kick, like a Ronaldo-esque sort of free kick, runs up to it, and the ball's probably still going at an upwards trajectory right now. So, I mean, I'm not going to be critical of him. I know he's only 19, 20 years old and still maybe more to offer. I suppose the honest, the good signs are that he's getting on the ball and making opportunities. And he did lay off, obviously, Malone for the first goal, didn't he? So, I mean, what's your thoughts on his performance today? And obviously, hopefully, what more we can see from him, really.
He just looks like a confident player on the ball, doesn't he? He drops deep, he gets the ball, he passes it around. Sometimes I think today, personally, I felt like at times he tried too hard. You can see he really needs that first goal, and he's really trying for it. You can see he's given his all. He's trying to get in good positions. There's one ball that Woodsy put over the top for him, which was a great ball. If he gets that under control, that could have quite easily been his first goal. But yeah, he just needs that break, that lucky break, and I think he'll be a really good player for us. I think you're right to say, there was in patchy glimpses today, but when he gets on the ball, I feel that him and Zahor are just a class above what we already have. And if we can get him going, I think he'll be a great player for us.
I noticed early stages, I think Sahora and Parrott were linking up quite well, and you're right to say that. I think with Parrott, I think a lot of people obviously compare him a lot to Harry Kane, Kai, and obviously I know like Harry Kane, you know, maybe a bit before your time when you obviously came down to the Den, or you might have early memories of it, but I think with Kane, like the comparison is obviously he came to Millwall and made a name for himself. But I think with Parrott, this is his first loan in football. Like this is his first time he's left his parent club. And I think with Kane, he had a spell at Leyton Orient for a year before he came to Millwall. And even though he was younger than what Parrott is at the moment, I think, you know, he had that first year at Leyton Orient playing League Two football. Perhaps maybe with Parrott, it might be, if it doesn't work in this loan spell, you might find that next year, if he's on a loan at another championship club, he might be scoring goals for them for fun. But I don't know if it's maybe the championship, it's a bit maybe too rough and tough for him, perhaps. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a stat the other day about Kane. I read that he didn't score for in his first 10 games for Millwall or something, or first 9, 10 games, and it took him a little while to get used to the championship. And I'm just hoping that Parrott will find his way as well. You know, you can see he's got that class. You know, he's dropping deep. He's winning balls. He's trying to do what Kane does. Kane drops really deep, gets the ball, and then sprints into the box. I'd like to see Parrott maybe play just slightly higher up than he does at the moment. And, you know, he's playing on the left today. Had he have played central in a 4, if we'd have played a 4 at the back and played Zahor and Parrott up top, it could have been interesting to see how he did with a partner. But obviously on the left, he drops deep quite a lot to get the ball, and he's playing like a left winger today. So maybe that's why we didn't see him as much as we would have liked to. But there's definitely glimpses there, and I'm really hoping he can step up.
So we mentioned obviously the first half as a whole. Second half came along. You know, we mentioned Cooper and his yellow card and potential second yellow card. I thought, you know, Boreham Wood came into it early second half, didn't they? And it was kind of a bit nervy at points, thinking they didn't really test Fielding. I don't think Fielding touched the ball today, who obviously was in goal, deputising for Bart Bielkowski. But I think at that point, the second goal comes obviously later in the stages of the second half, about 75 minutes. Sean Hutchinson's there. Malone again, getting his second assist, which is why he's my shout for man of the match. Good header, and I think maybe Hutch needed that, especially, you know, I'm not saying he's been poor, like I'm not saying he's been our worst player recently, but I think his form in himself maybe has dipped a little bit in recent weeks, and maybe that's a timely goal for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a really good header, actually. It was near post, you know, the way he's directed that is a brilliant header. So I was really pleased to see Hutch get a goal. Cooper looked a constant threat as well in the box today. So it was really nice to see them two. A bit more, we've been not so good from set pieces this year. I think we haven't scored many at all, whereas last year we were set piece specialists. So don't know what's happened there, but it was nice to see us score from a set piece against a big physical side in Boreham Wood, and hopefully that will give us confidence for weeks to come.
Absolutely, mate. I think if we look through the rest of the side, I mean, there's not really too many more standout moments. I think Bradshaw, he got a chance late in the second half, which was quite disappointing. I think he managed to scramble his way through into the box, and unfortunately for him, he just left-footed it, drived it kind of wide of the far post. I mean, is it going to ever happen for Bradshaw at Millwall, Kai? What's your kind of feelings on that one? I think, you know, it's just unfortunate that he's in that position, but he's snatching at chances and he's not tucking them away with full confidence like you'd think a number 9 should do for championship level.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because, you know, Tom Bradshaw had scored two in two before the coronavirus isolation period. But talking about the 2 chances that Bradshaw did have, one in the last minute and one in the sort of 70th minute, them 2 balls have both come through Parrott. So Parrott's got that, you know, you can see Parrott's also got that class in there. But with Bradshaw, he's a frustrating player because I think he is a goal scorer, he is a finisher.
He's a poacher, isn't he? Maybe he's not necessarily someone that can run into the box with the ball and try and have a shot away. But if there's a loose ball in the box, I reckon about 70% of his goals have been, you know, on the 6-yard line poaching efforts, haven't they?
Absolutely, and I think you know, we've had that Millwall strikers last couple of years now. You know, Gregory, as much as I love Gregory and as much as he worked ever so hard, you know, he always struggled with one-on-ones, didn't he? And Bradshaw seems like the same. So yeah, I agree. I think Gregory and Bradshaw are pretty similar players, and I think they're both poachers, and they're both you know, there's no doubt. I think Bradshaw is a better finisher than Lee Gregory. I think he is, and I think Tom Bradshaw will I think he will stay at Millwall for a couple of more years at least. Obviously, he just signed a new contract. It's just whether we can get him scoring on a more regular basis for us and becoming a better championship striker.
So I think as a whole, you know, we've spoke about the game now, but it was a good performance, wasn't it, Kai? I think, you know, you look at it as a whole, there's some clubs will lose in the cup today. I think, you know, Derby went out to Chorley, albeit with their reserves, you know, like the under 23 side, so to speak. But, you know, we can't really knock back the side, you know, considering we lost last week, you know, and come back today and managed to get a 2-0 win, a clean sheet. it must be, you know, room for confidence, and hopefully, you know, going into Tuesday night against Bournemouth, we can maybe kick on and try and, I'm not going to suggest maybe get a result because I think it's going to be a really tough ask Tuesday night, but, you know, at least put performance in that could put us as fans, you know, with a smile on our faces.
Yeah, exactly. I think as Millwall fans, all we ask is they give 110%, don't we? And I felt against Coventry, they didn't do that in the first half, and I was really disappointed with that. But I think this Millwall team is a good squad. I think we have a good squad right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with our squad. You know, there's no reason why we can't be in the top half of the table. We just need to get our confidence back and our consistency back. And once we have that, I think we will start to climb the table. If you only you look at Preston, for example, they struggled early doors of the season. They've got their confidence back a little bit, and now they seem to be on the rise. So if we can do that, I think we're 12 points off the playoffs. I'm not suggesting we're going to get in the playoffs because it's a big ask now, but 12 points off the playoffs. We've got 2 games in hand. You know, you don't know. Millwall do normally turn up against these bigger, so-called bigger clubs, and you know we could quite easily that gap can quite easily be brought down. And even if we do finish top half of the table, I'd be really happy with that finish, that end to the season.
I can tell you're of the younger generation, mate, when you say we're 12 points away from the playoffs, when I'm probably starting to twist. Because at one point I was like you, not too long ago, to be honest with you. But, you know, I'm starting to now twist to more, you know, the other side of it, where in reality we're 6 points above the relegation zone. So I'm thinking, cautiously in the back of my mind, thinking we just need a couple of wins to get away from that and get a little bit more of a buffer. But I admire your optimism, because it could change. And I think, you know, a lot of it, with, like we said before in a couple of shows, you know, it could change based on what we do in the January transfer window, which we spoke about enough times, which we won't get into today. But before we move off from the Boreham Wood game, mate, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and ask you for your player ratings for across the starting 11 today. We won't talk about the substitutes too much, which is more about the 11. So Fielding in goal, I had him down as a 6 on my list, purely because he done nothing today. And, you know, I think a few goal kicks he done, they beat the halfway line. You know, he done what was asked of him really today. What would be your player rating for Fielding today?
Probably go with what you said. 6 seems quite reasonable. Obviously, didn't have to make a save, I don't think. I thought his kicking was pretty decent, especially with his left foot. I think he was tested on his left foot once, and it crossed the halfway line. He looked composed on the ball when he got the ball at the back, and he made a couple of good passes out to Hutchinson and Cooper. So yeah, I thought it was relatively composed, and yeah, good performance from Fielding, with albeit not much to do.
I think player ratings could be subjective. So some people might think me saying 6 is criticism of players, but for me, a 6 normally is middle of the road, done what was expected of them today, so to speak. So for that, you can't really knock back a 6, in my opinion. So we'll go through the centre halves first. Alex Pearce, again, I'm probably going to say 6 because, like I said, he didn't have much to do today. But you know, when he was called upon, done his job really. I mean, what do you reckon about that one?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're probably right again, because you know our defence had very little to do today. And so I don't think you can really give them, apart from obviously McNamara and Malone. I think the 3 centre backs did everything they were asked of today. They looked composed. They looked good. They just looked very assured today, and that was what was nice to see. We didn't really look like conceding, apart from that chance, 55th minute, when he blazes over from 12 yards. So yeah, I'd go with a 6, 6.5, something like that. I thought Pearce led his captaincy is always, you know, you can hear him on the camera, can't you, all the time?
Always.
Absolutely, and you know that clap at the start of the game deserves at least a 6.
But I'll probably go 6 for Cooper as well. But then I've also gone 7 for Hutchinson, purely because he obviously got the header today and he scored the goal. And I think he deserved a goal, like I mentioned earlier on. So I think that's probably wraps up the back 3. McNamara, here we go. So what's your match rating for McNamara? I'll come to you first on this one.
I'm gonna be bold and go 8.5/9. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was brilliant. I think one we were saying earlier that it was one thing we wanted to see what McNamara was going to be like. We really want to see him challenge Romeo, because Romeo's never really had any competition for his right back space spot. Even though when McCarthy came in last year, it was clear that Harris didn't have, when he actually saw him play, he never actually thought McCarthy could challenge. And McNamara's gone to St Johnstone with Callum Davidson, and he's come back a different player, and I think he's absolutely brilliant today.
8.5 is a big number, I think, for him. I think, you know what, I agree with you. I put a tweet out saying, you know, I was impressed. Like I said earlier in the show today, you know, there was a lot of anticipation around it. I think it was kind of muted that he would start today, and a lot of people kind of suspected he would. But, you know, not only has he come in, albeit against a non-league side, and I'm very conscious of that part, because, you know, it's against a non-league left back. How is he going to do, for example, against Bournemouth if he played on Tuesday night? Maybe a different story. Who's to say it wouldn't? But I think, you know, if anything, you can't knock him, because you can only do what you can do in a game. And I think I'll probably go with an 8. You've convinced me to go for an 8 on that one, so I'll admit to that one. Scott Malone was my man of the match, though, so that means I've got to give him a 9 out of 10. So are you going to say 9 out of 10 for Malone, or was he your man of the match today?
I'd probably say Malone, yeah, 2 assists, played very well for me. Looked a constant attacking threat, and that's one thing you do get with Malone. You get the pace and the power and the drive down the left hand side. With Murray Wallace, you get more. I think Murray Wallace is much more reliable than Scott Malone. I think he does it on apart from the Coventry game, of course.
Especially defensively, he is more reliable, isn't he?
Absolutely, I think he's very very solid. I like Murray Wallace a lot. But today you saw Scott Malone's attributes, obviously, albeit against a non-league side. But yeah, I thought he was excellent. He showed his class. That first goal was there was great composure to pass it to. He didn't snatch at it. He just rolled it straight to Zahora, and Zahora did the rest. With the second goal, I thought some of Scott Malone's corners today were really really good, and that's why I agree with you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He also had a volley late on in the second half that brought a good save from Ashdown. I can't remember who crossed the ball into him, but he hit as sweet as a nut on the left foot, and could have potentially got a goal to cap off good performance. He was my man of the match, so I can't knock him. We'll go to Leonard first before we go to Boreham Wood. I think Leonard actually had a good game today, and I think he didn't have a lot to do again because I think we dominated the game on all accounts. But I enjoy watching Leonard play because he gets on the front foot. He doesn't think about it. Bless him. I don't think he's basically, I think you compare him to other midfielders. He's Jimmy Abdou, but he's got a bit more about him. He doesn't run around as a headless chicken as much as Jimmy used to. And that's why everyone loved Jimmy Abdou, because, Jimmy Abdou would be ever present, always a hassle to the opposition. But when you watch Leonard play, especially behind closed doors, and that's probably just my opinion on that, because I don't think he does it in front of the fans. And I don't know if there's something more to that. But he gets the ball and his instinct is to turn it over and try and get a counter-attack on the way. And I thought, a 7 out of 10 is, I think, a good turnaround and a good performance from him.
Yeah, definitely. I think he drives us forward with power and pace, doesn't he? When he gets on the ball, the defense Boreham Wood today they looked nervous when he was on the ball. A couple of times he was driving forward and they were really on the back foot, and you felt like he could set either Parrott or Zahora away. So I thought I agree with what you said. I think he deserves a 7.
I think that boils down then to his end product again, because I think there's a couple of times in the second half where I remember he got the ball and he tries to play McNamara down the line and it goes out of play. And I think that is probably the only criticism I have of Leonard. Like, he doesn't get on the ball and play it with the same class as Ryan Woods, for example, which we'll come on to now. So Woods obviously got, for me, I think 6 out of 10 is not a bad performance, like I said. And I think Woods was just middle of the ground again today. I think he played well when he had the ball. I think a lot of the time Boreham Wood were intent to play the ball over the top, try get us on the counter attack or try to hit Reed, and a lot of the game missed Woods out because we was doing the exact same thing when we were trying to get Sahor, trying to get to Parrott. We were just trying to play in the final third a lot of the time. So I think it didn't really do a lot today, I don't think, and 6 out of 10 is probably a fair rating, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I thought Wood did everything he needed to do when he got on the ball. That ball obviously through to Parrott was class, and that's what he can do when movement is there. I saw a tweet actually halfway through the game. It was from Jake Sanders, and he said Parrott has just shouted to Woods, "Pass it forward, Woodsy." I
saw that.
Which is exactly what he has to do more. And when he does that more, he just shows his class. That ball to that Parrott is exactly what he can do. When he plays, he can find someone through an eye of a needle, and that's exactly what he needs to do more. And if he can, he'll do really well second half of the season for us.
I know, speaking on behalf of my group chat for this podcast, I know Neil was disappointed to see Woods in the lineup today, and I feel like I was too, because I had Thompson in my 11 today, and we're deviating from the player ratings at the moment, Kai. But if you're Ben Thompson and you obviously not started for a little while now, and I suppose you're knocking on the manager's door asking what more can I do? There must be something we're not seeing for him to not get into the side. But to bring him on for a couple of minutes to go when you're 2-0 against Boreham Wood in the cup, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit distasteful from Rowie. I'm not going to suggest that there's something going on there. There's a thrift that we don't know about. But to bring on Thompson in the last minute, probably mean he's not going to play Tuesday or Wednesday either, because he obviously doesn't fancy him for whatever reason. I'm a bit disappointed on that one myself.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a Millwall player. You can see that he comes on with 3-4 minutes to go, and he could come on and he could be probably disappointed and a little bit hurt by the fact he hasn't played. But even with 4 or 5 minutes to go, he gives his all, doesn't he? That, I think there was a prime example when actually Malone was through on goal, and that all started with Ben Thompson closing down their right back. And he wins the ball, he passes it through to Malone, but Ben Thompson always gives you 110%, and that's what I love about Ben Thompson. And I agree with you. I think it was a bit unfair he didn't get that start today.
I just think because the likelihood is he probably won't play on Wednesday or Tuesday against Bournemouth. I don't see it. I mean, especially if we line up with a back five, I think Rowett doesn't trust him enough in the midfield too. I could be wrong. The same with a 4-4-2. I don't think he trusts him in there enough. I think he fancies Leonard and Woods, which I don't knock him for, because I think, two of them seem to strike up a good partnership together. So hopefully we see the best of Thompson soon. Hopefully he gets his opportunity because, like we said, he's a Millwall fan. He loves the club just as much as we do, and I think for that we do have a soft spot for him. I can understand why he's maybe not playing if he fancies done midfielders purely because they'll for more. But I think at the same time, especially in a cup game against Nottingham, I personally would have started him today. We'll talk about the front three. Tyler Bury, we haven't really touched on just yet. What did you make of him today first? And obviously, what's your player rating for him?
I thought Tyler Bury looked good when he got on the ball. I'd like to see him get on the ball more if he could, because he's obviously, you can see he's a fantastic prospect. He's got real good pace. He drives us forward with pace, and I think he's unlucky not to score actually in the first half. Good save from their keeper. So I'm going to go with a 7 for Tyler Bury. I thought a really solid display and a very good debut for him.
It was encouraging to see him and McNamara a couple of times link up on the right hand side, a bit almost like how Jed Wallace and Romeo do for us, if you know what I mean. I think there was a good little link up there between the two of them. McNamara obviously composed on the ball, like we spoke about, played quite well. And I think Bury, he was unlucky. You mentioned that chance. And also, I think it was the first half, was it where he bursted through from his own half when he was defending a corner, and he almost just got through, didn't he? And it would have been a great counter-attacking goal from him. But yeah, I think, he bursted through. I think Parrott might have played him through, maybe. I can't really recall at this time. But yeah, on another day, maybe he might have just got a goal that I felt he deserved. I think, we was waiting for him to get his opportunity to start. He's played a few sub-appearances, Middlesbrough away, got half hour when he was losing 3-0. But I think he did honestly do a good job today. Maybe this point is take him off after the hour mark, Kai. Maybe we've got an eye on midweek, maybe you're thinking. I don't know. I think Wallace will be back in on that position midweek, probably.
Yeah, I was quite surprised to see him come off. Actually, I thought Rout might keep him on for at least 80 minutes. Actually, at 60 minutes, I had a feeling he might take off Parrott, but I was pleased to see Parrott carry on. But it was quite hard because do you take off Parrott or do you take off Bury? Or because obviously the Zahor being taken off was a given because of his match fitness, but whether to take off Parrott or Bury was the question. And I probably for me he probably sees Parrott as a more of an immediate option at the moment, and giving Parrott 80 minutes was a big thing for him. But I thought Bury was unlucky to be taken off after the hour. But who else probably do you take off? Because he was the winger. And I thought, but I thought he played really, really well today.
I think 7 out of 10 is a fair result for him as well. Like first league start, first start in general for the club. I think you got to give him credit where it's due, and I thought he done quite well. Left side, we said about Parrott, he obviously got 80, 90 minutes. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 as well. I think, I thought it wasn't nothing amazing, but a bit like Bury, he looked lively, got on the ball. Like I said, I think he'd be disappointed not to score today, Kai, but I think 7 out of 10 for Parrott would be a fair rating.
Yeah, he looked a constant threat, didn't he? Every time going forward, he looked really good. For me, he's ever present in the attacks today, and I felt exactly what you said. I think he would have been disappointed not to get a goal. I was disappointed he didn't get a goal. I felt one goal will spark him to life, and it'd have been nice had he got a goal today. But when he does that goal, I think he'll go on a goal scoring spree.
Absolutely. And lastly, Ken Sahor. I'll give him, if I was going to do half ratings, I guess I'd do 7.5 out of 10 because, he was that bit better than Parrott. He was that bit better than Bury. He scored a goal today. I think we just saw glimpses of him, like we said earlier, what he could offer for us. So I'll give him 7.5 out of 10. Fair rating?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as we said, before, we're not saying that he doesn't give 110% because, he's just come back from injury, but he always looks that little bit higher than what we've got. He doesn't necessarily work as hard as Bradshaw, but when he gets on that ball, you can see his class, and he has that swagger about him that he's confidence, and his attributes that got him to West Brom and West Brom to the Premier League. So yeah, I think he played really well today, and I was really pleased that he got the goal.
I think he's got just a bit more about him. He's a bit more all-rounder. You can tell why, like I said, you said there, I think Cardiff paid multi-million-pound deal for him. The same thing for West Brom when he went to West Brom. So yeah, I think all round 7 out of 10 for the whole team roughly is a fair result. I think, we played well all over the pitch, and hopefully we can take it into Tuesday night, Kai. So before we go, we have got Bournemouth on Tuesday. I just want to get your thoughts on that, and obviously what you kind of expect Tuesday night. It's going to be a tough day at Dean Court, I think.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be what we did today at Boreham Wood. We're going to be switching roles, aren't we? We tried to attack for 90 minutes today. I think we're probably going to be defending for a large part of the game on Tuesday. It's going to be tough. We need to go there with confidence. We have to, work hard, do everything we did against Norwich actually away, where we pressed really well, and just see if we can hit them on the counter attack. If Zahor plays and Parrott plays, and we have Jed up top as well, we have got that class up there and that ability to change games. And we've seen Bournemouth at home, struggle a little bit without the fans this year. The fans came back and they were excellent. They were winning 4-5-0. But against Preston, they were 3-0 down with 20 minutes to go. In the end, obviously, it finished 3-2. But I'm not saying we're going to be 3-0 up. But, you know, even if we can get a goal or two, you know, just to at least get a point. And then, but I still think if we can get a goal or two, we can defend the lead. So fingers crossed.
Well, so go on, I'll let you finish that. You're going to give a prediction, ain't you? I think.
Oh, no, I'll go with a prediction. I'll go with all things weighed up. I'll go with a 1-1 draw. I'm very happy with a 1-1 draw.
I think you're right about regards to Bournemouth will be a lot. Hopefully, the problem I've got is I'm a bit fearful is Bournemouth's top goal scorers in the league. Bournemouth scored a lot of goals this year. I think they've got 37 goals. And how many games is it? Sorry, I'll just double check. 37 and 22, the most scored in the league, or second to Blackburn. Sorry, and we saw what Blackburn's all about when we went up there. And obviously, Blackburn scored a lot of goals. You know, so I think it's going to be difficult. They've won 3 out of the last 5. They win big at home as well. So, you know, it's going to be a difficult ask for us. I think they've only lost once all season at home, and that was to Preston, ironically. So, you know, it's going to be a tough ask for us going there. But you're right. You know, if we get him on the counter attack, I fancy Sahor up front. I really do think he could replicate what he done at that Preston away game, even if he hits the corner flag like he did in that game as well. You know, I'll take it. So, but, you know, I think you can build off him, and you see the players, especially I imagine Jed Bodis and Mason Bennett. If Mason Bennett starts midweek, obviously he didn't play today either. You know, I can picture Sahor getting the ball and having the two of them swarm round and hopefully get him on the counter attack. So yeah, I mean, that's me being a confident Millwall fan. Reality checks in quickly and think, you know, Bournemouth got a lot of firepower in their side, so it'll be a big ask. And I'll take a point, like how you said there. And I think that'll probably be a fair result. Hopefully, if we can get that and turn up on the night. I mean, Kai, I really do appreciate your time today, mate. Have you got anything else you want to add before you shoot? Anything you want to put in towards it?
No, that's about it. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. And as always, guys, there'll be on YouTube, there'll be a description, obviously link there to Kai's channel, Millwall Fan TV, at TV Mill on social media. So we will be back probably Wednesday or Thursday to just maybe recap the Bournemouth game and also have a player interview that we've got lined up and Into the Lions Den. So that's it for me and Kai today. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. If you want to leave us a review, please do so. We're available on all podcasting sites, 5 stars only, please. And we'll be back again soon. Thanks, guys.